What if I told you the moment you touch anything, you leave behind a secret code? A code that belongs only to you and no one else on Earth. And what if I told you this simple code once solved a crime that police thought was impossible? Today, you're about to hear the story of the first person ever arrested using fingerprints. A story that changed how police solve cases forever. Before we start, let me ask you a question. Do you think fingerprints were always trusted by police? Yes or no? Most people think, of course. But the truth is, back then, detectives didn't even believe fingerprints were real evidence, and one man proved them wrong. Stay with me, because the way this story unfolds, I promise, you've never heard history told like this. And hey, if you enjoy mind-blowing true history stories like this, make sure you subscribe so you never miss any episode I drop. Now, let's jump into the crime that changed the world. Imagine a world with no fingerprint scanners, no DNA tests, no security cameras, nothing at all. In the late 1800s, that was the reality. Back then, crimes were solved mostly by eyewitnesses, handwriting, lucky guesses, or forcing confession. And because of that, many people escaped justice simply because there was no solid proof. Police used something called the Bertillon system, named after a French officer, Alphonse Bertillon. Let me ask you this. Have you ever heard of the Bertillon system? It was basically a list of body measurement, head size, arm length, ear shape, and even the size of your foot. The idea was no two people have the exact same body measurement. But that idea failed a lot. Many innocent people were arrested, and real criminals walked free. So when someone claimed fingerprints were unique, police laughed at the idea. They said things like, fingerprints, those little lines on your hand, how can that prove anything? But everything was about to change, because one day, a simple fingerprint left on a freshly painted wall solved a crime no one could explain. And that brings us to our main story. Our story takes us to Buenos Aires, Argentina, in the year 1892. A quiet town, a peaceful neighborhood, nothing unusual until one morning. A woman named Francisca Rojas reported a shocking incident in her home. Her two young children had been harmed, and she was injured too. She told the police that a local man had attacked them. They believed her story right. People in town were angry, but something felt off. The man she accused had no history of violence, and he said he was innocent. Police were stuck. There were no witnesses, no confession, no way to prove anything. But inside that house, on a door, there was a small fingerprint left in blood. At this point in history, no police department had ever used fingerprints to solve a case. But one person was paying attention. A man who believed fingerprints could reveal the truth. His name was Juan Vucetich, an Argentinian police officer with a scientific mind, and in this case, would become the proof the world needed. Juan Vucetich was different from other police officers. While everyone else trusted old systems, he was studying a brand new idea, the patterns on human fingers. He created the first fingerprint classification system in the world, but nobody believed it. Imagine trying to convince police in the 1800s that a tiny swirl on someone's finger could identify a criminal. They called it crazy, useless, a waste of time, but Vucetich kept going. And when the Rojas case came in, he knew this was his chance. He went to the crime scene. He saw the fingerprint on the door. He carefully lifted it, slowly, gently, making sure nothing damaged it. Then he compared it to the fingerprints of Francisca Rojas and the man she accused, and what he found shocked everyone. The fingerprint belonged to Francisca herself. That meant the story she told the police wasn't true. She eventually confessed, and in that moment, history was made. The first crime in the world ever solved by fingerprints. This case proved fingerprints were reliable, and from that moment, fingerprint science spread across the entire world. After the Rojas case was solved, something surprising happened. Police departments around the world began talking about it. Imagine the headlines at that time. Crime solved by finger marks. New method changes police work forever. Officer proves identity through hand pattern. People were shocked. Some were amazed. Some refused to believe it. Let me ask you this. If you lived back then, would you trust fingerprints as evidence? Yes or no? Because remember, in the 1800s, fingerprints were not common knowledge. Most people didn't even know their fingerprints were unique. Some didn't know they had fingerprints at all. But slowly, the idea spread from Argentina to Europe to Asia, and finally to the United States. What started as one case became a worldwide shift in crime solving, and it all began with a single fingerprint on a door. Let's talk about something cool. Why are fingerprints so powerful? Why did they beat every other identification method? Here's the simple truth. Every person has a unique pattern. Even identical twins have different fingerprints. The pattern stays the same from birth to death. The marks don't change when you grow. It's basically nature's ID card. Your fingers have three main patterns. 1. Loops. 2. Whorl. 3. Arches. No two humans have the same combination. Here's a question for you. Have you ever looked closely at your own fingerprints? Because the lines and curves you see are the same lines police use to solve crimes today. And it all started with Vucetich proving the value of this science. After Argentina's success, many countries paid attention. Britain was one of the first European countries to test fingerprint. Detectives were skeptical at first, but after a few successful cases, they fully adopted the system. India actually played a huge role too. British officers working in India were among the earliest to test test fingerprints for government work, such as identifying workers and preventing fraud. The US was slower to adopt fingerprint. American police still trusted handwriting, photos, and body measure. But after a few cases were solved using fingerprints, they switched quickly. By the early 1900s, fingerprint departments opened in New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C. Today, the FBI has one of the largest fingerprint databases in the world, and it all traces back to that moment in Argentina. Now let's return to the hero of this story. Juan Vucetich wasn't trying to be famous. He wasn't looking for recognition. He simply wanted to improve police work. He studied fingerprints for years. He made charts. He created the first classification system. He kept records in small boxes and books. In the beginning, he was ignored, but after the Rojas case, everything changed. His system became so effective that even Europe, which usually felt superior in science, began copying it. Today, Vucetich is remembered as a pioneer, a scientist, and the father of modern fingerprinting. Let me ask you, did you know Argentina was the first country to solve a crime with fingerprints? Most people don't, but now you do. Francisca Rojas tried to blame someone else for the incident in her home. She said a man came inside and caused harm. The police believed her at first, but something didn't sit right. When Vucetich checked the fingerprint left on the painted door, it matched Francisca's finger, not the man she accused. She eventually admitted the truth. This was shocking at the time, because no one had ever used fingerprints this way. No court had ever accepted fingerprint evidence. No police department had ever followed this process. When the court accepted the fingerprint as proof, it set a worldwide legal standard. That one case did more for forensic science than 100 years of old methods. Once the Rojas case proved fingerprints were reliable, countries around the world started rushing to adopt the system. By the early 1900s, police stations began collecting fingerprints from every person they arrested. Courts started accepting fingerprints as official proof. Criminals couldn't hide behind fake names anymore. Innocent people were protected from false accusations. And here's something interesting. Before fingerprints, many criminals used false identity. They would change names, grow a beard, cut their hair, and the police couldn't prove who they really were. But fingerprints changed everything. Let me ask you, have you ever used your fingerprint to unlock your phone? Pretty normal, right? Well, it all began because of one 19th century detective in Argentina. Fingerprinting became so trusted that it replaced almost every old identification method. In 1924, the FBI in the United States created a central fingerprint file. Back then, fingerprints were stored on paper cards, sorted in drawers, boxes, and cabinets. It was slow, it was manual. Workers had to flip through thousands of cards by hand. But crime solving became so much easier that detectives were willing to do it. By the 1960s, the system had grown into millions of fingerprint records. And then, technology changed everything. Computers arrived, scanners arrived, digital databases arrived. Today, the FBI's fingerprint system called IAFIS holds over 70 million records, all searchable, all connected to police across the country. One fingerprint can now be matched in minutes, sometimes seconds. And it all started with a single print on a wooden door in 1892. To show you how powerful fingerprints, bank robberies solved because thieves left fingerprints on cash register. Fraud cases solved because suspects touched documents. Car thefts solved because prints were found on steering wheel. Missing identity cases solved when fingerprints confirmed who people were. By 1930s and 1940s, fingerprints became the gold standard of forensic identification. Even today, fingerprints are one of the strongest forms of evidence in court, and it all links back to one man's belief in science. Your fingerprints form while you're still a baby in the womb. They're shaped by tiny pressure, movement, your surroundings inside the womb. That's why even twins have different prints, and once they form, they stay the same forever. They don't fade, change, or rearrange. That's why fingerprints are trusted worldwide. Juan Vucetich didn't set out to be a hero. He just believed in good science. When the Rojas case confirmed his ideas, he didn't celebrate. He simply continued improving the system. Today, forensic students study his work, police academies mention him, and his fingerprint system became the foundation for every fingerprint database on Earth. Let me ask you, did you know one crime in Argentina changed the entire world? If you didn't before, now you do. What makes this story powerful isn't just the crime, it's the lesson behind it. It shows how one idea, even one that people laugh at, can change the world. Fingerprint science protects the innocent, identifies the guilty, helps solve cold cases, stops identity fraud, and keeps millions of people safe. All because one man dared to try something new. So now you know the full story of Jing, the first person ever arrested using fingerprint. A story that started with doubt, but ended with a breakthrough that shaped modern forensic. Before you go, let me ask you one last question. Do you want more incredible, true stories from history just like this? If your answer is yes, then don't miss out. Subscribe to the channel for more unbelievable and real stories from the past. I post new videos that will open your eyes to the hidden side of history. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.